Mr. Secretary General, first of all, thank you very much for this interview. People in our country are considerably divided before the referendum. What are your expectations for the voting on the referendum?
My expectation is that the people of this country turn out and express their views and use the right to vote in such an important referendum because this is a pivotal time for your country. This is a very important decision, and therefore it is important that all voters use the right to express their opinion. Of course, I hope that the name agreement will be accepted because that's the only path to membership in NATO, full membership in the international community, and also membership in the European Union. That will be good for this country, but of course also good for the whole of Europe.
You were quite clear that the fulfillment of the agreement is the only way for Macedonia to become a member of NATO. What will happen with the invitation if the referendum fails?
Then there will no membership. We have made it totally clear that the only way we can have membership for this country is that you implement the name agreement. This is a package. I accept that some people in this country don't like the name agreement, but that's not the issue in a way. The issue is whether they accept the name agreement to achieve membership. And there is no alternative way, there is no other way to join NATO without a membership agreement. Therefore, I welcome the fact that there is now an agreement on the table. It's for the people of this country to decide. But if you say yes, then we will sign the accession protocol. And as soon as we have signed the accession protocol, you can participate in NATO meetings next year already. And when all the parliaments have ratified the agreement, your country will be a full member of the alliance with an equal voice, with a seat at the table of the alliance.
You also met with the President Ivanov and the leader of the opposition party, ВМРО ДПМН, Christian Michalski, who are against the agreement, obviously. What is your assessment for their role in the process?
Well, I think it was very useful for me to meet both the president and the leader of the opposition because in any democratic society you have an opposition, there are different views, different opinions. And I got a much better understanding of the sensitivities, the difficulties related to the name issue after listening to them. But my message was that I welcome that they are in favor of joining NATO, joining EU, being part of the international community. But my message to them was that if they want that, the only way to achieve that is to accept the name agreement. I heard that they were critical towards the name agreement, but at the same time they were in favor of NATO and the EU joining the international community. And again, the message is that this is two sides of the same coin. There is no way to separate the name agreement from joining.
What can Macedonia gain with a NATO membership? Many people think it will be just a big cost for the country like ours.
No, I think what we have seen is that NATO enlargement is a way to achieve security and stability. And security is important also because it's the foundation for economic prosperity. Over the last decades, NATO has enlarged with a lot of former members of the Warsaw Pact in Eastern and Central Europe. We have also enlarged into the Western Balkans with Croatia, Slovenia, Albania, now last member is Montenegro. And we see that the security, the stability that NATO provides also helps to stimulate economic growth. Montenegro is perhaps the best example. After Montenegro joined NATO, investments from NATO allies like Germany, UK, France, many other allies have doubled. This shows that security is important for economic growth.
You mentioned Montenegro. Is there a danger of any Russian influence in the country until we became a part of the alliance? We know what was happening in Montenegro.
So we have seen Russian attempts to influence democratic processes in this region. We saw it in Montenegro. We have seen it in Greece, where some Russian diplomats were expelled, and we have seen also in the public very strong statements from Russian leaders and diplomats. I'm totally confident that the government in Skopje will make sure that you have the institutions, that you have the procedures, that you have free and independent press, which is the best ways to prevent interference from abroad. What we have seen is that NATO provides the best framework, the best basis also to protect against unwanted interference from other countries. It's also important to remember that NATO, we don't see confrontation. NATO is a defensive alliance. We don't want a new Cold War. We don't want a confrontation with Russia. Actually, we are striving for a better and more cooperative relationship with Russia. But the only way to achieve that is to be strong and united and firm when Russia violates international law or try to intimidate neighbors. And I can speak also as a Norwegian politician. For many years I was Prime Minister of Norway, and I have seen how Norway as a NATO member can work with Russia, not despite our membership in NATO, but because of our membership in NATO, because the membership gives us the strength and the stability to also have a constructive relationship with Russia.
Okay, and the last question. After Skopje, you are going to visit Athens and meet with the Prime Minister Tsipras. The situation is Greece pretty much same like in Macedonia, meaning that the opposition is against the agreement. What will happen if the agreement will not be ratified in Greece?
Greece has made it clear that they support membership if the name agreement is implemented. What we have seen is that Greece has already started to follow up and implement, because Greece voted in favor at the NATO summit in July to invite you to become a member. Greece also supported, as all the other allies, the decision to start accession talks, and Greece and Prime Minister Tsipras has clearly, publicly, but also in meetings with me, stated that as soon as the accession protocol is agreed, you will take part in NATO meetings, and when the accession protocol is ratified, you will be a full member. So I'm absolutely confident that if you agree on the name agreement, then your country will become a full member of NATO.
Mr. Secretary General, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you so much.